The 2016 Writers Group Halloween by Ivan Bridgewater. As you may recall, we left our local Florida writers group in a bit of a pinch. The god's thunderous voice roared,
"How dare you even stand here? You are as grains of sand under my feet. You foul my serenity with your presence. Speak now and make it something better than "oh shit," or you can prepare to die."
Visibly angry, Hal yelled, "You think? I got something better right here for you." Several people in the group cringed, and Dana said, "Good job, Hal. Piss off the gods and see how that works out." Taking a deep breath, Hal said, "Fine. You don't like the way I'm dealing with this? You take a shot at it." Dana, Ted, Brenda, and John all stepped forward at once, each one looking around at the others. Hal threw up his hands and said, "Fine, have fun." Giving Hal a dirty look, Dana looked up at the god that had been addressing the group and said, "I would like to say that as a group, we're sorry if there has been any misunderstanding. It's not my intention to insult you folks."
"Be silent, stupid mortal woman," roared the god. "You're not even a man. Be silenced in the presence of the great god Gralto, lowly woman."
Standing behind Dana, Hal cringed. Dana loudly said, "You really are old gods, aren't you? I've sure never heard of you. What kind of gods have no worshippers?" Waving at the writers group, Dana yelled, "Be honest, have any of you ever heard of this guy before now?" As a group, everyone's head all shook a negative response in unison. Dana looked up at the great god Gralto and asked, "What book are you in?" The giant's voice dropped slightly as he said,
"I am in no book. I'm a god."
"You're a god, but you're in no book?" scoffed Dana. "No wonder you look so small and diminished. No one knows about you and nobody cares. You need to be in a book if you want to understand the power of a modern god." Hesitating for a moment, the giant asked,
"What do you mean? What difference would that make?"
"People would be dying to meet you," said Dana. "You'd be on everybody's mind, adored, worshipped above all other gods." Suddenly, all the other gods present started to stir and look a little uncomfortable. One of the female gods asked, "This could be done with any god?" Smiling at them, Dana said, "All the gods in our books, where are they? I don't see them here."
"They are on a different level from us," thundered the great god Gralto. "We were left behind."
The giant seemed to tense, and in a husky voice practically hissed,
"Left to an eternity in silence."
Cat quietly said, "Oh my God, that's the saddest thing I've ever heard." The god's head snapped up, but he remained silent. Then he slowly said,
"You are implying that you tiny mortals can be of service to the gods?"
With a slowly spreading smile, Dana said, "I suspect we can find someone to write of the gods. We are a writers' group after all." All through the group of gods a quiet gasp sounded. In an almost reverent fashion, Gralto asked,
"To be resurrected from the silence, does such a power truly exist?"
Brenda yelled out, "I would help you." "Whoa," yelled Hal, "be careful what you promise to an immortal god. I've read it can come back to haunt you." The giant's demeanor suddenly changed, and with a laugh he said,
"You can't believe everything you hear about the gods."
"So says a god," offered John. For a moment, Gralto's smile seemed to slip. Then he went on, saying,
"Actually, we were here to discuss who sent the great god Valdemorthian a device that brought about his demise."
Hal stepped over at once and said, "I have already confessed. Let's get this over with."
"Very well," said Gralto. "We are going to turn you into a goat and serve you for dinner tonight. This is the judgment of the gods. So I have spoken, so it shall be."
Standing behind Hal, Dana dryly said, "I told you to let me deal with it, but oh no. Well, don't listen to me. See what it gets you." Just starting to lose his patience, Hal said, "Fine. See if I write even one line of prose to salute the king of forgotten loudmouths." Turning to speak to Dana, Hal bleated like a goat. There was a moment of stunned silence, and then Hal frantically bleated again twice. His eyes left no doubt he was upset, almost frightened. He bleated once more quietly, and then grew silent. "I'll write about you if you let Hal go," yelled Ted. John, Brenda, Dan, and the rest of the group all agreed to write of the old gods. Seconds later, Hal quietly said, "Thanks," then grew silent. Dana yelled up, "So you can send us back now." In a flash of light, the great god Gralto disappeared, and a human-sized version appeared within the group of riders. He stood looking around for a moment and then stepped over to Dana and said, "You look different up close." He hesitated and then said, "We never sent anybody back before. We usually destroy people horribly or turn them into food and eat them. Sending people back has never been needed." "So you're saying you can't send us back?" interjected Dan.
"Well," said Gralto suddenly, "let me say nobody ever went back alive before."
"I could quickly get to hate this," growled Cat. Hal stepped over to Dan and quietly said something to him. Within seconds, 2 large bugs ran across the floor and jumped down off the platform, scrambling away toward the other giants. With obvious disgust, Gralto said,
"At least one of you is crawling in bugs."
"We have human imaginations, if that's what you mean," Cat responded. "You're gods. Can't you do better than a big mess of volcanoes and lava? I would have a lavish palace and the best of everything."
"We are gods," responded Gralto. "We are beyond such things."
"You're beyond really good sex, drugs, or rock and roll?" asked Drew.
"Foolish mortals," muttered Gralto. "There are far more important things than that."
"Name one," said Ted.
"I sure can't think of one." Gralto said, "In 80 years, the shockwave from the explosion that you triggered will destroy the Earth with a withering blast of cosmic energy."
For a full 10 seconds, everyone was silent. Then Ted said, "Okay, that's a pretty good comeback. Are you really serious, or were you just giving us a hypothetical scenario?"
"I'm entirely serious," responded Gralto. "Your actions have doomed the human race."
Cat quietly said, "I'm going to get sick." A huge female deity with bright red hair loudly said, "They are creating bugs, Gralto. Destroy them at once." Looking up, Gralto loudly said, "It is done by them, so we release them. They think I am deceived.
They forget I am a god!"
As he spoke the words, he returned to his former titanic stature. Looking down at the humans, he said,
"You have used your imaginations to work your will upon time and space. Now I shall show you the powers of the old gods. Know this, mortals. Your world is doomed because of your actions. I, the great god Gralto, shall save your world."
He paused and then added,
"If you will please write about the old gods."
There was an awkward pause, and then one by one, each person in the writers' group said, "I swear."
"Very well then," Gralto said. "The easiest way to solve all the problems you have caused is to reverse the flow of time."
Hal quietly muttered to himself, "I didn't cause the damn problem in the first place." Gralto looked down at Hal, but didn't respond to the comment. Instead, he said,
"Prepare yourself, mortals. I now return you to your reality, to a time before your small minds were forced to deal with the great glory that was and is the old gods."
Dana sternly said, "Shut up, Hal. This nice god is offering to save the Earth and send us home. You're trying to start some sort of an argument with the nice giant." Without speaking, Hal mouthed the word "me," and then slowly repeated the one-word question 3 times. Then he turned his back on the entire proceeding. There was a bright flash, and the entire group was back at the beginning of the evening. It was 10 minutes before the group was to begin the meeting. Everything was the same as it had been before the meeting, with one exception. John was missing. He had been here in the original timeline. As a group, everyone looked around the small room as though the grown man might be hiding somewhere. It was Ted who first asked, "Does everyone else have a memory of something that couldn't have occurred?" Brenda said, "I'm not sure if that was a dream or if this is." There was a clap of thunder, and John appeared in his seat as if he had never been gone. He was wet from head to toe, and steam was rising from his body and clothing. Appearing exhausted, he seemed a bit bashful about what to say for a moment, but finally said, "I guess the red-headed god liked me." The entire room full of people all burst out laughing at once. After a moment, Ted asked, "Do you think it's really over?" "If you mean the meeting, yes," said Hal. "We're done for this week. Come back at the 1st of next month for our next regular meeting, and we'll start again." "But I haven't read yet," lamented John. "You read," Hal said. "That's what got us in this mess in the first place. Come back next week, and we'll read again." Standing in the back of the room, Dana said, "We are a writers' group, Hal. I vote we go right ahead tonight." Every rider in the room but John politely got up and started for the door. John slowly stood up and started to follow the rest of the riders out of the front door of the house. There was general small talk, but it was John's remark that stopped the entire group in the front yard. From the foot of the stairs, John said, "I still don't see what's so bad about calling on the old gods on a dark and stormy Halloween night." Instantly, a voice from above bellowed,
"Who dares to call upon the old gods? Who calls us from our long, dark sleep?"
Hal just moaned, and every person in the group said, "Oh shit," in unison. The end.
And happy Halloween.